Here we go. Here we go. I am very, very excited today to have an attorney with me, a former attorney. That's it. That's going to be the only intro you get. We have Coach Adam Virant.
You got it, Virant. You got it.
All right, Virant. We're good. All right. But he goes by Coach Viro, and he is with the Savannah Bananas, an assistant coach and also director of baseball operations.
Yeah, director of banana ball. We'll go with that way.
Director
We don't
of
play
banana
baseball. We don't play baseball here. We play banana ball.
It's here to stay. It's caught on. It's very infectious, man. It's fun. And I love what you guys do. You wouldn't be selling out stadiums all across the country if people didn't dig it, you know? So this recipe works. Tell me how you first got involved with the Bananas organization.
Yeah, absolutely. I was an attorney for 10 years in New York City, as you alluded to, and hated every minute of it except for the paycheck, quite frankly. But I learned a lot. I learned a lot. Very, very grateful for my time in the law and the people that I met. And when I was making a transition to my next career, my father and I were kind of figuring out, hey, what's next for you? And I come from a long line of educators. And so my father was like, get into teaching and go coach baseball. And so I said, you know what, that sounds great. I think I could do that. And I don't think I was ready to teach at that time, but I wanted to get back in the cage and see if I had any clue on how to coach. I played baseball at a high level. I played at George Mason University, Division I. I was a catcher and born and raised in Omaha, Nebraska.
Which is, man, that's one of the states on my bucket list. I don't know why, but I do want to go to every state, and Nebraska's on that list. All right. So, Cornhusker, I guess, right? So you grew up playing ball?
Oh, yeah, man. I grew up playing ball. I fell in love with the game at the College World Series, which is played every year in Omaha since the beginning of time. And so very early age, all I wanted to do was play baseball. I loved everything about the game. It wasn't about winning or losing. It was literally about that baseball field. I've never felt more comfortable in my life anywhere in the world other than on a baseball field.
I love that. I absolutely love you saying that, man, because there's certain people who that's synonymous with, man, where you can go back to your little league field, right? Or you can go to a major league park. You go to Yankee Stadium or you could go to Carnegie, which happens to be mine, and it gives you the same chills. Maybe not the same chills, but you get that energy, and it's like, man, just this is where I belong, that sense of belonging, right? On a diamond. So you're playing ball growing up in Nebraska, and what age, I guess, did you start taking baseball seriously?
I think probably when you got to the big field, probably like that 13-year-old age, I realized, oh, I can do this and I really like it. That transition from the small field to the big field is like grinding the gears in a car. It's a tough transition, mostly for kids who haven't really matured yet physically. And I was one of those guys that I was a late mature. I'd get into a ball and the shortstop would just, camp under it, right out there.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
You see it. Even the best athletes, the best little athletes you can see, and they might not have the strength yet to get it over, first to third, whatever. So you played high school ball?
Played high school ball, Papillion La Vista, and had a really good career. Always could hit, but again, I love the game. I just love being around, and that led me to college. I went through some pre-draft physicals back in the 90s, and I thought I was going to get drafted. Honestly, I had some unique skills. I was really fast. I could throw really, really hard, and I had a hit tool. And so I didn't get drafted. I should not have gotten drafted. I would have gotten eaten alive, and I would have not had the rewarding baseball career that I ended up having, but it led me to a junior college in Kansas called Fort Scott Junior College. Had a fantastic time down there. It really taught me how to it grew me up really quickly. I was down there with kids of all ages from all over the country and all over the world, quite frankly. We had guys from the DR and Puerto Rico down there, and I had to grow up really quickly. And so, I was kind of like a big fish in a small pond in that little town of Papillion, Nebraska. And now all of a sudden I was with a lot of guys who were very talented, bigger than me, older than me, a little bit more mature, but I rose to the occasion and I took every at bat seriously, and I ended up being a 2-year starter down there. And that led me to George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia, where I played for a couple years before a career-ending injury kind of said, that's over with.
What injury was it, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, it was really weird. So there's right on your elbow, there's an area called the olecranon, and It's this point on your elbow.
Really? Okay.
Little kids get what's called little league elbow, they call it. And little league elbow is fracturing, micro fractures of the bone. And what ends up happening is if you don't let those heal, they always just kind of stay brittle and the bone gets brittle.
Okay.
Well, that kind of happened to me. I think I probably had an unresolved injury at a very young age that just never resolved. Sure. And eventually my elbow just snapped in half on a throw. It was pretty traumatic. It was horrible. At that time, I was predicted to go kind of like a mid to late teens in the draft. I was a
Yeah.
pretty good catcher, and I broke that elbow in front of about 30 scouts, 6 cross checkers, and everybody in our conference tournament. And that was the end of the road, buddy.
Tell you what, man, two things. Number one, I am not glad that that injury happened to you. However, I now know, what do you call that again? What's that elbow?
That's the olecranon.
The olecranon. For all of you kids out there studying, that's the olecranon. So let's make sure we don't damage the olecranon. You know, I'm a huge, all kidding aside, man, huge believer in karma, universe, energy, just things that are meant to be will be, right? If now part of that is manifesting it. You didn't say, okay, listen, I can't wait to go and get in front of these scouts and snap my arm in half. But then it's what you do with it after it happens. This injury happens, and there's a couple different ways that you can react to that, right? You can fold and you can say, there goes my dream, and now what do I do? And just, kind of retire to whatever it is that you settle for, quote unquote, right? That's what maybe 50 percenters do, or maybe higher than that. But then we have the other percent of people who absolutely take the misfortune or whatever it might be, blow it up, right? Knock the cover off the ball and be where you're sitting right now, man. So you have a very interesting path in the fact that, that happened at an early age. And then, obviously you went to school. Were you going to school the whole time for law?
No, I had
Tell
no
me about
plan.
that path.
I had no plan B. My only plan was playing the major leagues. That's not that wasn't because anybody was pumping me up. That was my vision at a very, very young age.
Yeah.
I literally could see myself in a major league uniform. I could feel the dirt underneath my cleats.
Yep.
I could see the fans up in the crowd. And I had such vivid images of me playing in a major league stadium that's how I had my sights set. And
Wow.
that's all I wanted to do. I was a good student. I had great family. I had great support. This wasn't a thing where people were saying you're going to be a big leaguer and that's all you're going to be. And then all of a sudden you have nothing.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So I had a fallback in the sense that I had a good head on my shoulders. I had a great support group. I was intelligent enough. I knew how to read. I knew how to write. I had a great upbringing.
Okay.
And so, but it was never forefront that I was like, oh, I'm going to go into the law. Nobody in my family, immediate or removed,
Really?
was a lawyer at all. They're all educators.
Yeah.
And so when I had that injury, it was tough, right? You lose everything, your identity. The one thing I have, the message I have for kids is don't wrap yourself up into an identity of you're a baseball player, you're a football player, you're a basketball player. You can go full speed into that, give it everything that you have, but don't wrap your identity up in that because that's not who you are. You are yourself. You are your parents' child. You are whoever you want it to be, but it's not that one thing. And so, unfortunately, I wrapped myself up as I was a baseball player.
Yeah.
When it was gone, that was brutal, my friend. I mean, when you talk about trying to find your way and going through, the depression and kind of like getting through that. Right. I mean, think about this, Donovan. Your entire life, you're around a baseball field.
Sure.
And you're around teams and you're around coaches, and that is what you do. And then literally in the snap of a finger, it's done. While those guys are good guys, they're not really deep friends because you're changing teams.
They're associates. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. And so what ended up happening was life came at me quick and I had to figure it out. And I saw a movie in the movie theater called Jerry Maguire, who Tom Cruise really glorified the sports agent kind of business. And I was like, that's how I'm going to stay close to sports. And that's what led me to law school.
Who's coming with me, right? That's the quote whenever there's something. Who's coming with me? And pop culture, most of the kids that surround me wherever I'm at have no idea what I'm talking about. And then say I'm with Coach Ballgame or something like that. He'll be like, Jerry Maguire, so I guess it all depends on the crowd. But that was a something, where that's actually when I saw that I wanted to go down the same path and I wanted to be an agent. It's very, very unique in the fact lawyer and now director of baseball operations for the Bananas. Did you just hate it? Did you hate the grind? Like what was
It wasn't me. It went, it's a tough profession, and especially in New York City, if you can imagine.
Oh, I bet.
And so a lot of things went against my fiber and my core fiber of who I am as a person. And it wasn't like nothing. I was around a lot of bad actors. It was tough. I was a fish out of water, literally. It just wasn't for me. Now, if it was somewhere else in the country, maybe, but New York, Brooklyn is a tough place. Listen, I would not trade my experience as a lawyer for anything
Yep.
because it has taught me so many skills, life skills, professional skills that I use to this day. And quite frankly, we can get into this in a little bit. We're in the prep season where we're prepping for getting new teams signed and players signed and contracts and things like that. So I'm able to really kind of flex those skills that I learned. But yeah, I wouldn't say that my path, anybody should follow it where you spend all the money on law school and go through that and pass the New York bar and do all that. And all of a sudden just kind of, I don't want to say throw it away, but say, hey man, we're going to course correct this way and start giving baseball lessons for $15 an hour.
No, I get that, and absolutely. It's just it's so different. It's so different. It's just the first time that I've really heard it. And I love it. Because you said, I'm gonna do what I want to do. I'm gonna do what makes me happy. A lot of people get stuck in a position. Myself even, right? Like there's people who get stuck in a position because the money's good and you get into that comfort level, right? It's funny too, attorney. I've had 4 people in the last week tell me that I should have been an attorney. My wife not being one of them, but then she agreed with it. But, as far as whatever your profession is that you get caught up in, and if the money's good, you kind of settle. But there still might be a little birdie or a little something in the back of your head saying, you know what, this isn't really my passion. This isn't what I want to do. Unfortunately, I think as men, we find this out a little bit later in life, at least from my experience and what me and people I know are going through, right? These 40s seems to be that age where you just like, this isn't what I want to do kind of thing.
I do want to touch on that
Yeah.
about it's people who want to achieve, at a high
Yeah.
level. And we fight through the waves. It's kind of like trying to fight through a rip current. It ain't gonna happen. You're gonna tire yourself out. And so if you're in a profession that isn't jiving, it's not giving you energy, it's sagging on you. You don't want to wake up in the morning and go in there because it's not giving you anything other than grief. Now, I have some really good friends that are going through that right now.
See what I'm
They're
saying?
like,
And we're similar age, you know what I mean? Like it's
absolutely. I got some friends who are like, I am so unmotivated. I just can't get up and go. And my message to them is, I understand I was there.
yeah.
The only thing you can do is put one foot in front of the other every single day. That's all you can do. There's going to be so many things that come at you, but you should start to look for a profession, a job, whatever it may be, that gives you energy.
I'm almost listening to this and taking a lot of it personally, you know what I mean? And in a good way, obviously, but listening to what you're saying, you're very fortunate to have Jesse. He sounds very inspirational and he's a pretty amazing person, just everything. Kind of heard his story a little bit. The complacency and going back to what we were just talking about, Moneyball started for me close to 2 years ago, right? And in exactly what you're saying, right? Where am I going to get that energy from? Doing this then has opened doors like you can't imagine. Well, that's open doors. And I got that. It's like Stella got her groove back, right? Like you get that energy back, man, where you feel like I'm more than what. I just appreciate you saying that. Diving back in, banana ball, right? Let's just take the plunge here, man. Let's go off right into the deep end. You guys finished your tour. First of all, were you able to play that game with the hurricane coming in?
We got it in, man. Oh, yeah.
I wasn't sure. It was real close to the interview with Rack. I think it was 2 days after the interview, you guys were going in and playing in Miami, and that was the finale, correct?
That's correct. Miami was our final game, and it's really interesting because Milton was crossing right across Florida as our bus was supposed to be driving past it. So we delayed transportation down there just to make sure that hurricane didn't swipe the side of the bus. But we got down there. Really glad that we did. There was a lot of discussion about, hey, you know what? Should we be doing this? We don't know. And it's kind of like, hey, listen, we're gonna see. We're not gonna put anybody in jeopardy. But yeah, we got that game in. It was honestly, it was one of the best. We call them shows. It was one of the best shows that we had all tour. Really glad we got it in.
I think it was relief for a lot of people down there. You may have had people from up north, Ocala, Tampa area, Wesley Chapel, whatever, who were like, you know what? We can go get out for a couple of days. Let's go down and check out Banana Ball. So then right after the season, you got that in. I'm glad you guys did. And then was there a cruise?
There was a cruise.
Right after the season.
Banana Land at Sea. We boarded a Norwegian cruise liner with 2,500 of our most passionate fans. and we set sail on the high seas for 4 days. And I got to be honest, Donovan, going into it after a long tour, there was a lot of a lot of concern of, oh man, I don't know if we got this in us. I don't know if we want to be around
Yes.
all
You're
these
saying
people.
it without saying it. Yeah.
I can tell you this, every single player, cast member, staff member who went on that boat, it was one of the single greatest experiences of
Really?
our lives. And I'll probably speak for all the fans here.
Yeah.
Probably one of the greatest experiences for them as well, because you let off with this. We bring joy and hope and happiness to so many people.
Yeah.
That was a whole nother level. Being able to mingle with fans, being able to put on shows, being able to sit down and host a segment with my fellow coaches called Coffee and Roster Thoughts every morning,
Okay.
and drink coffee with 75 to 100 people and answer questions.
Yeah.
Share a stage with Jesse Cole and Tyler Gillum and talk about the future of banana ball. It was truly amazing. But the thing that was really amazing was getting to connect with those kids. Tyler Gillum and I, my fellow coach at the Bananas, we'd go up to the buffet every day and we'd get a plate and we'd go sit down next to a family. And, they're like, oh, I can't believe they're here. And we just jump right in, just kind of like this conversation.
Yep.
I tell you what, it was a really, really cool experience.
That sounds rad, man. I'll tell you what, it sounds like something I'd like to be on, actually, just being a fan of Banana Ball. 2,500 fans, and those fans are wilding out, right? Those have to be the fans. Like to say, I'm going to go take a 4-day, or was it a 4-day?
It was.
Right? I'm going to go take a 4-day cruise and commit to that with family. They're dedicated fans, brother. So, and you came to Buffalo. That's where you and I met briefly, and that's, where I'm from. And you guys were here for 3 days, which was spectacular. So many people had never seen Banana Ball in Buffalo. Buffalo, believe it or not, is a big baseball town. It's a very passionate baseball town. And I think what you get with Buffalo is a lot of people who are very, very good athletes, right? We are football, hockey, is what we're kind of known. There's a lot of NHL kids, actually 8 were placed on NHL teams in the last year just from, the Buffalo area. But athletes that go off somewhere else. So they're going to go to college somewhere else, right? And Georgia, Liberty, wherever the heck they're going to go. And they're going to end up in Buffalo again at some point. So you have all of that sports expertise, if you will, right? Again, all of that passion. What was the vibe in Buffalo versus maybe some other towns that you go and see more, travel to more? What was the vibe in Buffalo or similar towns to that where you first kind of introduced Banana Ball for the first time?
Yeah, a great question. Buffalo had a very passionate fan base. The one thing is, what are they passionate about? Are they passionate about the show, or are they passionate about Banana Ball, or the whole package? And I could say that our fans literally are the greatest fans ever. They show up, they're dialed in, they're there for a whole bunch of different reasons. But Buffalo, you could tell, was a very sophisticated sports fan base. They recognized the nuance of the level of play. And so Buffalo, the one thing that really sticks out is they were dialed in. They showed up, they stayed late, but they were dialed in. It wasn't like we lost them because, hey, Rack wasn't hitting or Jackson wasn't hitting, or some of these like entertainment pieces weren't, had already played out, and they're like, cool, I can leave now. I saw the best.
Right.
They stayed till the end. But that's kind of similar to every city we go to, quite frankly. But Buffalo in particular, they were a very sophisticated fan base, is what I recall.
Yeah, good. And I do need to go into something here with you, and that's youth baseball. I want to know your take on the state of youth baseball. We spoke a little bit prior to, us chopping it up here, and you mentioned that you coached travel ball in New York City for years. And I got to hear about this. First of all, being a travel coach, I coach hockey, I coach baseball. I'll coach anything, man, as long as you give me a whistle and a clipboard, right? My son's playing tennis now, and I played as a kid, so I'm going to get into coaching that a little bit. But I love working with kids. They're so moldable, they're so impressionable, and there's a certain way to coach kids that you absolutely don't, you don't coach the same as you're coaching an adult. I think a lot of coaches these days with youth sports do not see that. They don't have that. It's like almost a read the room, right? Or know your audience. They don't have that light switch, bro. Tell me what you think as far as youth sports and the coaching and some of the do's and don'ts. Or first, let's start with travel baseball in New York City. But what's your vibe on it all right now?
It's I could probably talk for days, and mostly because I really care about it.
Yeah.
And it was youth baseball. Well, baseball has given me everything that I have in life. It really it has. And um, so what I'm worried about the current state of youth baseball is a lot of the great things that you had that I had growing up doesn't mean that, oh, our prior generations were better. But what youth sports offered us and provided us has been stripped away and lost in mostly every organization. Camaraderie, the life skills, the friendships, the relationships with not just your teammates, but the game has kind of been deteriorated because the advent of travel baseball and these showcases and all these tournaments and things. And quite frankly, I think the priority is wildly wrong nowadays. This is not my opinion. This is evidenced in the data. So there's a report called State of Play that's produced, I think, annually. And the most recent report came out and they said that youth baseball has diminished in attendance and participation by 20% over the past 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
20% less players playing youth baseball today than 5 years ago.
Okay.
That is hundreds of thousands of players. Now, this is affecting a lot of other sports as well. Everybody talks about, oh, how expensive it is for these things. And there's certain sports that are more expensive.
Sure.
There's 2 sports that are very expensive. Tennis and golf are some of the most expensive sports to play.
Like with little to no equipment.
With little to no equipment, but you have the greens fees, you have all that stuff. You have the tennis court fees, all that. Those sports have grown. They have captured the 20 or 30%. They've grown. The whole discussion is why? Why have those grown and baseball's dwindled, soccer's dwindled, basketball's dwindled? And a lot of people have tried to like speculate why. And we think because a lot of the fun of those team sports has been removed.
Thank you.
And
Amen.
And I say this all the time. You don't have to convince a kid to play video games or skateboard. Why? Right. Because it's fun. A lot of the fun has been stripped out of that youth game. You said something really important. There's people out there that are coaching young children like adults. They are not adults, not physically, not mentally. There's nothing you can do. There's no amount of wind sprints. There's no amount of yelling. There's no amount of anything, cool uniforms, tournaments, anything that you can get a child to mature to an adult. You can't. Mentally, they're a child. They want to have ice cream after the game. They want to go out and play with their friends and make up games after they play baseball. We have professionalized, because I was part of this. I ran a baseball organization in New York City for 12 years. It was wildly
that you knew did the things it shouldn't have been doing, but you were caught up in it.
You had no choice, right? You kind of picked your battles, and we did that. And so we brought a different type of coaching, a different positive coaching, a different type of life skill coaching in there. But we also were still competing with the mounting pressure of what travel baseball really was. And youth baseball, youth sports have become professionalized. All too often, I've heard from families in New York that, hey, you know what? I can't play baseball in the spring because if my soccer program said, if I don't sign up for them for the entire year program,
contract,
I'm going to lose my spot. And so, when you have 7-year-olds who are doing 2-a-days in hockey, like, what are we doing, man?
I know.
And so the current state of youth baseball, in my opinion, is wildly broken. So banana ball, and this is not a shameless plug. We ran our first youth baseball tournament, a banana ball tournament in Cleveland this past year. We had 75 plus teams, ages 9 to 13, 14 years old. It was a wild success in the sense that it was sold out, but more importantly, we had feedback from families and players saying, I go to tournaments all over the place, traditional baseball tournaments. I've never had more fun together on a baseball field than with my teammates. I never have. The feeling and the stress and the pressures that come with being at normal baseball tournaments, it was removed. We got to be kids again. Banana ball gives the kid the game back to the kids. I'm going to say that again. Banana ball, the game of banana ball gives the game back to the kids.
Yeah. I had a real good conversation with a former NHL player, recently retired, who's coaching locally, who made a really, really good, his adjective was elitist, right? Think about that a minute, right? The going and playing at Carnegie Playground and hitting a home run and going to your all-star game, that was our travel, right? Like we went to the all-star game, right? And you got a trophy if you were one of the kids that earned it. And but the adjective he used, elitist, to make anyone who thinks that if they sign up for X organization, they're better than someone else. And it's insane. I'm like, wow, dude, you nailed it. Like, so if you play for the Junior Sabres, your kid's automatically better. Not choosing a certain program for my kid. Listen, if Deacon's good enough, you know this, coach, I know this. If Deacon's good enough, he's going to get noticed. Somebody's going to find him, and he's going to be playing somewhere he's supposed. You know what I mean? If you're good enough, they'll find you. Like
I'm gonna add something in there. Deacon is only going to go as far as he wants to go in this game.
Yeah,
that's it. If he doesn't want to go, if it doesn't give him passion and energy, he's not going to go any further.
No.
If he's having fun, he's only going to go as far as he wants to go.
You're absolutely right.
And that's for every kid. That's for every kid out there. If a kid gets burned out and doesn't want to do this anymore and is just chewed up because like a coach yelled at him, or the tournament level is too high, or he's not getting the playing time, or he doesn't feel like he's really a part of something, he's not going to do it anymore. Think about this for a second. Teachers have to have a certificate. They have to have a license to teach your child math. Coaches do not have to have any license whatsoever to teach your kid
check mark
skills, physical skills,
I know,
or baseball skills.
Do you think they should? Do you think they should?
100%. 100%. There has to be. There should be some governing body. It doesn't need to be. You don't need to go to college for this, but there should be some governing body where they go through mental skill awareness, physical skills, like understanding the physiology of a 7-year-old and how it differs from a 25-year-old.
Dude, you are preaching, and I truly hope that you know, when everybody's watching and listening to this, that it can raise a couple of eyebrows and people can truly realize, like, this is coming from a professional, and you're not the first one to say it. And you know, your title is what it is. You are the director of baseball operations for one of the biggest baseball programs in the country, period. That's what you do, coach. Like, you can take that and embrace it or be humble, salt of the earth guy. I get it. But your position is that of significance. And people should listen to someone who has this opinion, because you're spot on. And I agree with the fact that somebody, you know, there should be some type of certification, right? I don't even care if that's some kind of written or test or something like that, where just cover the basics. Now, another thing, and I won't go too deep into this, but we're not checking backgrounds. Just because somebody raises their hand and says, hey, I want to coach, you're not necessarily a good guy. You know what I mean? Like, look at the Boy Scouts, man. Look at the priests. Like, it doesn't mean you're a great human being because you say, I want to coach. What is your reason behind that? And there has been cases. I'll be honest, I'm shocked there's not more cases. And I thank God that there's not more cases, but of things of that nature, right? Because, you know, I know what I would do. I'd kill the guy, right? Or girl, whatever. And it's like, there's no real screening process. No, very well said, man. And I'm sorry a little bit. I did, you know, stray off there a little bit, but we'll bring it back in here and close it out. We'll go into a couple of fun questions here. We'll start off with, you're ready to order a pizza. What toppings are you going to order? You order a pizza, what are you putting on that thing?
Man, that's super easy, man. That's buffalo chicken all day long.
Really?
All day long. I don't know, man. I can just crush buffalo chicken for some reason. Okay. It's kind of like, it's got a little bit of the sweetness, a little bit of the salty.
Yeah.
And I can just crush it. I'm a pizza guy, man. Living in New York for 20 years.
Yeah, well, that's where I was going, man. I heard you're a pizza snob. I did my homework.
That's not the best pizza. That's not, you know, if I was going out to a pizza place, that would be Lucali in Brooklyn. Yeah. Google it. Most people don't know Lucali. Lucali is where I'd go. But if I was just ordering, hey, man, I want to fire down an entire pizza, it's buffalo chicken.
Okay. That's first time I've heard it. But I was going to ask you, in New York City, you got your traditional New York City type of pizza. And would you argue that is the best pizza out there?
I think
the style.
Yeah, that thin. I mean, I'm all about that thin, but what I really love about New York style pizza is when it's done right. If it's coal fired, the coal burns really, really hot, and it'll give a nice crisp on the bottom of that you know, the crust there. Yep. And sometimes it burns a little bit and gives you like a little bit of a burnt taste to it. So
okay. And you like that?
I love that so much.
Okay. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Absolutely. And that's in Buffalo we call that burnt.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if it's too burnt, then no, right? But like But no, 100%. I think New York has the best pizza categorically on the planet.
So we have a certain type of pizza in Buffalo, and like everybody's kind of got their opinion on the Buffalo wing, but there's certain spots you have to go to. Shout out Elmo's. They sponsor my show. My opinion, they have the best wings. They're right across from University of Buffalo. Kind of like a little hole in the wall place that just has Khalil Mack made them famous, the NFL player, and they're phenomenal. Now the Buffalo pizza, the secret is the charred pepperonis. They got to come up and form. Almost the oil is going to rest in the pepperoni. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it creates like a little coffee cup for the
Yeah.
oil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great for the arteries as well. Yeah, that's kind of the thing around Buffalo, man, is they have to be the burnt pepperonis without burning the pizza. So that's what we pride ourselves on.
I love
But
that.
listen, man, honestly, this was a lot of fun. Man, you were awesome. As advertised, like I said, your passion of baseball, what you do, you seem super happy. And would you say you're right exactly where you want to be in life right now?
Yeah, no doubt. Just like we started this by your mother saying, "Hey, man, if you ever thought that you'd be talking to the director of Banana Ball, this was created for me, and it's exactly where I want to be. It's where I deserve to be, and again, more importantly, it's what gives me the most energy every single day to get up and go out there and put together these teams and put on the best show for all those fans across the world."
I love it, man. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with me this morning and with Moneyball. And man, nothing but the best wishes for you in the future, man. It was great having you on.
Oh man, great talking to you. Thanks,
All right,
Tom.
brother.